My name is Joe Peroni, and this is the Rise Above Project. And today we're going to do something a little bit different. I've been listening to this particular YouTube channel for, about maybe a year and a half, and he actually entertains me a lot, but I think he entertains me for all the wrong reasons. And I'm trying to get a look at the way, a lot of people think masculinity is going these days. And I really get a lot of good clues from this YouTube channel and this particular content creator. So in terms of YouTube, right, like he is extremely successful. And I got it, hats off to him for that. As I'm looking at it here, he has 355,000 subscribers. Now, I pale in comparison. I only have about 5,000 subscribers, so I have to go with that. So he's certainly striking a nerve with certain people. Unfortunately, as a 56-year-old man, I've seen a lot of changes in this world and a lot of changes in masculinity. And from what I can see from this channel and as I go through the comments section, it really seems like this particular guy, and he calls himself the Joker, and the name of the channel is called Better Bachelor. So you can look that up if you want, and you can subscribe if you want. I have no problem with that. I think he's entertaining. But it seems like him and his 355,000 subscribers, they're a bunch of men who feel totally inferior, that life is passing them by, and they find protection by being with other angry, disenfranchised, alienated, bitter men. And they spend their time hating on society and more specifically hating on women. And that's kind of what I see. So I find this to be, it's interesting, it's entertaining, but I also think we should keep an eye on it because this is where a lot of our society is moving, and there's a lot of anger here. And the other thing I want to do is I want to point out how many times that this guy is going to bring up saying that somebody's forcing him to do something, or forcing men or boys to do something. Because we'll take a look at it in more in depth as we go through the show. But there is no part in any of this, the article that he's going to be reading, that says that anybody's forcing a man to do anything. So again, it really comes down to an incredible amount of whining and crying and victimhood. And as a man watching this, I do get a little bit of, it's actually kind of sad, listening to this. So with no further ado, I'm going to see if I could work this here. I'm going to hit the play button, and I'm going to continue to stop it and go back and forth because he says so many crazy things that I really have to stop it many times. So let's try it. It's got a nice little beginning.
Alrighty then. This is sad. This is just sad. A UK primary school is asking boys to wear skirts to be more inclusive. There's a point where I do feel like society is leaving me. Like, I'm not leaving society. I haven't noped out into a plot of land in a cabin where I've got razor wire up and no trespassing, and I haven't walked away from society. I'm still here and I'm still trying to participate.
Okay, so right off the bat, society's left him. He hasn't left society. So says the guy who lives in a bus. I mean, listen, it takes probably an amazing amount of skill to renovate a bus to make it to be livable with like a bathroom and you can cook on it. But he literally bought a bus and renovated it, and that's where he lives. And so he doesn't actually have an address of where he lives. And the way he makes his money is off of YouTube. So there's really no social connection whatsoever. He drives wherever he wants. He doesn't have any land, and he lives on a bus. I'm sure that's very attractive to the women who he's just wondering why they don't want to be around him. And before we get into what he's going to talk about here, the article he's reading is about a UK primary school. So we're looking at the United Kingdom. It started off with a boy from Spain. The boy from Spain went to school wearing a skirt. because he wanted to. And what happened is that they called him into the office, they made him see a psychologist, and they kicked him out of school. And in solidarity, there has been movements around Europe to have a wear a skirt to school day, to stick up for someone who wanted to wear a skirt to school. That's it. This is not a major thing that. Why would he get so upset about this? I don't know. Let's find out.
The good news is, in the real world, you can still participate, and you don't really run into too many of these crazies.
Okay, listen, I got to stop again. In the real world, let's understand something here. When you have a guy that runs a show based off of what he is, about basically hating women and hating anything that's a little bit off center, a little bit different, or something that's in the minority, whether it's social or whether it's, obviously your gender, whether it's your nationality, understand something here. When he says the real world, he means the real world is white, it's male, it's heterosexual. So when he says that and everybody else is crazy, let's look at where this judgment comes from and why. And why he is so unconscious to the fact that the world is changing here. And because it's not all male, heterosexual, and white, he can't take it and he's got to live on a bus. So let's continue.
But when you've got government that has crazies in it, and the school boards that have crazies, and a lot of universities and movies and everything else that's going woke and going all in on this feminist stuff, we're starting to run into problems. And that's where people need to kind of buck back and fight the system a little bit. So,
listen, there's so much in there. First of all, he uses the term woke. Woke is not a bad word. He uses it in a derogatory sense. But let's go over the definition of woke. Woke means that you are attentive to important facts and issues. In other words, wake up, see the world. But we want to be attentive and worry about important facts, especially when it comes to racial and social injustice. That's, everybody would say that. Jesus Christ would say that. Martin Luther King would say that. You name it. Gandhi, every great person who's walked the face of this planet has said the same thing. What is it with these people that they're against that and they make fun of it? The other thing that he says here that's really interesting, he says there's crazies in our government. Yeah, listen, we can all agree on that. And there's crazies, but he means crazies as people who are different. Now, let's take a look at, you want to look at some crazies that are in schools, like he mentions? We can do that. Because let's point this out. If you are in the United States and you live in the southern states, they still want to teach, when they teach sex education, they're against that. What they want to teach you is abstinence only. And they do that instead of teaching comprehensive sex education. And what do we have to gain by that? You look at the southern states, and there's many more teen pregnancies there, or pregnancies out of wedlock, all in the southern states, all at the same time when they go to church on Sunday and they say they're against all that. But they're so uneducated there. So when he talks about the crazies in school, I'm going to say, yeah, right. But it's not for the things you're thinking of. Okay, he thinks the crazies are the ones who are trying to be woke and teach people the science about sex and about being open to the fact that there are gay people. Oh my God, terrible, right? This guy is so backwards. It's like I said, he's really entertaining. I could talk about this all day. We're only 1 minute and 11 seconds into his video, and he said 150 wrong things. Let's see if we can continue this.
I found this story because of this on 9gag. And it says UK primary school asks boys to wear skirts to promote equality. And it just says at the bottom, I just want it to stop. and this had a lot of likes and a lot of comments on it. And I gotta be honest, I feel the exact same way. Like, please stop. Please stop being crazy, people. Please stop trying to tear apart our society, because
Please stop trying to tear apart our society. Is it not being open to people who are gay? Right? Like, if you look at the suicide rates of people who are gay, it's incredibly high. Why is that? Because they want to kill themselves? No, it's because society doesn't treat them well. They treat them like outcasts. They don't accept them. There's people like this guy who don't want those people to fit in because they consider those people to be crazies. So he doesn't, again, what are you talking about, man? Like, first of all, and all this complaining about some boy wearing a skirt in Spain and somebody else wearing a skirt in the UK, how does it ruffle your feathers so much? Like, that's probably the definition of being very, very unmasculine. Let's continue.
making a boy wear a skirt does nothing to
Okay, here we go again. Making a boy wear a skirt. There is nothing in that ever says that. Never. There is not one sentence that says they are making boys do this. This is, well, I'll let him talk for a little bit.
promote equality at all. It's meant to humiliate them. It's meant to feminize them. How about women? Girls are forced to shave their heads.
First of all, it's not meant to humiliate the boys who want to do this in solidarity with another boy. What is meant to humiliate is people like this who are trying to shame gay people, or trying to shame a boy for wanting to wear a skirt, or shaming a girl for wanting to wear pants when they have uniforms and they're not allowed to wear pants, technically. So again, all the shame is going from his type of direction and his, probably not all, but many of his 355,000 subscribers.
Like me, to promote equality, to show that they're as strong and empowered as men. You'd say, well, that doesn't make sense. Well, neither does forcing boys to wear skirts. It just doesn't do anything. So from the New York Post, you carry...
Again, he said forcing boys. Nobody's forcing you, man. Nobody. Not one person has forced you. And when he talks about, like, maybe we should get girls to shave their head off, to be like, shave their hair off because you don't have any hair. Okay, but listen, these are decisions, right? Like, it's been shown over and over again that there's been plenty of times where a child would come into school that unfortunately has cancer, and through chemo, that they lose their hair. And a lot of girls would shave their heads in solidarity with a person who has cancer or for some reason loses their hair. That's a very normal, very compassionate, very empathetic thing to do. And here's the problem with some conservatives like this. When you look at conservative brains in an MRI, what you'll see the brain has a severe lack of ability for empathy and compassion. So when they talk like this, a lot of times, you want to ask them, oh my God, who hurt you? Like, this guy obviously has had some relationships where somebody has hurt him, obviously. But on top of that, who knows? There's some nurture and nature here back and forth. Maybe just from nature, his brain is configured in a way that just can't see past his own nose. He literally cannot hear what he's saying here and has no empathy for anybody else other than for people who think and act just like him. And if he's going to act like Mr. Heterosexual, listen, I don't know when the last time this guy got a girl was, but the way he talks and the way, from listening to his other shows, he hasn't had a girl in a long time. And there's not going to be too many girls that want this skinny little guy with no hair and complaining about women and just being angry and bitter about some guy who wants to wear a skirt in Spain. Like, no woman's going to be attracted to that. So I'm going to say he's not even heterosexual at this point. I mean, he might be in his brain somewhere, but he seems very asexual. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Do your thing. Live in a bus. It's cool.
UK primary school asked boys to wear skirts to promote equality. A grade school in Scotland asked male and female students and teachers to wear skirts to class to promote equality. We want our school to be inclusive and promote equality, an email from Castleview Primary in Edinburgh said to parents. The Daily Mail reported Wednesday boys as young as 3 years old were asked to participate, the outlet noted. The email added that school wants children to be comfortable and leggings or other pants could be worn under the skirts. Skirts will even be offered to students who don't have any in their possession. Okay, so they're saying, hey, you know what? We want you to wear skirts. Now, if you're not comfortable, you can wear pants or leggings under the skirts, but we still want you to wear skirts. This is just a virtue signal. It is to me, what it sounds like is this is a way for a man to show that he's supporting their cause and he's willing to bow down to.
Let's stop right there because he used one of these other man things that they like to say, these quotes. By the way, I'm a man too, okay? But that level of masculinity is not masculinity. He's using this term virtue signaling, which I notice a lot of guys in this men's rights movements and manosphere, they like to use this term. Here's the real definition of virtue signaling, just in case, we don't know and, we want to put everybody on the same wavelength here. Virtue signaling is expressing opinions to demonstrate good morals and character. So when he says, oh my God, that's just virtue signaling? Right, you're demonstrating good morals and character, man. Like, what's the problem? Now, here's a slight problem with virtue signaling. If you're going to say that there's a negative in virtue signaling, it's this. Many people talk a good game, and they do say the right things. But unfortunately, they don't go out of the way to do the right thing. So in other words, you can talk about things, but you don't have actions that back it up. So when he says that this is virtue signaling, number one, it's a matter of opinion. I think showing good morals and character is a good thing. Me and the Joker here, Mr. Better Bachelor, we disagree on that. But here's the other part of that. He's also just wrong. It's factually wrong. Because the negative of virtue signaling is that you say something, but you don't take action. Listen, it takes an incredible amount of bravery and action for boys and young men to wear skirts to school in solidarity with a person who, I don't know, maybe they just like to wear girls' clothes. Maybe they're gay. I don't know. But it takes a lot of guts to do that. And it's certainly, whether you agree with it or not, it's an action. It's not a virtue signal. They're literally doing it. So again, his definition is wrong. And let's keep going with this. Like, he seems totally like in space. Like, if you're listening to me right there and you hear this and you say, well, this happened in Edinburgh or Edinburgh, the first thing that should pop into your head, where's Edinburgh? Scotland. Scotland has a massive history of men wearing kilts. They still do to this day. This is not a new thing. We just changed the word to skirt because it makes us feel better. But listen, the most manly of men, the Romans, the Greeks, they wore what we would call skirts today. So if Mr. Traditional here was really as traditional as he says, he'd be wearing a kilt. And by the way, just about every year, I love going to the Highland Games. Like in the Highland Games, listen, this guy is a puny little guy with no hair over here. That's his business. I don't really care. But go to the Highland Games and call some of those guys unmasculine or feminine. Because I've been there. They do these things like tossing the caber and things like this. These guys are jacked. These guys are like 6'5", 6'4", 6'6", somewhere 300 and something pounds. And they all wear skirts. What we would call skirts, but they're kilts. So this guy really doesn't understand history. He doesn't understand what being a man is. Listen, part of what being a man is to be all-inclusive. You have male genitalia, you're a man, be a man. Show values and virtues. It's not just one thing. It's not just being white, heterosexual, and stupid. Like, that's not what a man should be. Let's continue. I'm having fun. We're only 3 minutes in. Can you believe this?
those that ask him to. It's a way to force him to do something that is emasculating.
Again, with the forcing, who's forcing you, man? There's not one sentence in any of these articles that I've read that says anybody is forced to do anything. Stop. You sound like such a puss. Like, it's unbelievable. Just stop.
And stupid. And it's the same as if you're out with a bunch of your friends, and and a group of girls walks up, and one of your friends turns to the girls and says, "Oh, my buddy Ray here can do a great Chihuahua imitation. Ray, do your Chihuahua imitation." And if Ray sits there barking like a dog, thinking he's impressing the girls and the dude that told him to do the impersonation are all laughing at him because he's barking like an idiot. And yeah, they may find it humorous, but they're laughing at him, not with him, because he's embarrassing himself. And he's not looking masculine, he looks like a goofball. It's the same thing. This to me just sounds like a way where they can signal out any boys that fight back or any families that say, "No, we're not going to do this. This is stupid, and we're not in on this." This is a way to signal of who's the boy that's going to stand up to us, who's the young man that is going to stand up, or the family that's going to stand up. And then they can attack him, and then they can shame him, then they can send him off to the office and say, "Hey."
Nobody's shaming somebody for not wanting to participate, man, for the 50th time. Nobody is forcing anybody to do this. This is with free will. You can't understand that there's a lot of young people today with a lot of empathy and compassion, and thank God for that, because they're going to be the ones that save this earth, right? I don't even know where you're going. Comparing somebody trying to bark like a chihuahua, and that's the same thing? Come on, man. God, 355,000 subscribers believe this. Oh my God. Okay, here we go.
He's not falling in line like the rest of them. He's not playing along with the Western. He's a troublemaker. We need him to bow in line. And it's as simple as how things start. You know, if you go back to Germany,
Do you really think gay people are worried about you falling in line and that's the way society works? You know, if you're looking for marginalized people, man, like, you're a heterosexual white male. I don't think you have any business saying that people are expecting you to fall in line. Like, what? God, you're a victim. Okay, here we go.
Started with a patch on the shoulder of a yellow star, and from there escalated. Hey, you're not playing along. It starts off with little passports to make sure to show you've gotten your jab. Hey, you're not part of the tribe. You're not in. So now we're going to come after you. And that's all this sounds like to me. They say, we're keen to spread the message that clothes don't have a gender.
Let's go back. He's complaining about, you know, sometimes that you need to show proof that you've been vaccinated. And he's comparing that to Nazi Germany. First of all, his point of view that only wants white heterosexual male, that is part of the fascist point of view that he's saying he doesn't like. So yes, his type of talking is very in line with fascism, very in line with Nazi Germany. So for him to do this little back and forth thing, you're not fooling anybody, man. And the thing is too, listen, let's say the Raiders, Allegiant Stadium's right down the street from me. It's about I don't know what it is, 20 minutes away. Listen, if you're the owner of that team and you care about your customer base, and you know for sure that 99% of the people who die from COVID are not vaccinated, then you have the right to say, if you are not vaccinated, you're not coming inside my house and my business. Why? Because you might kill some of my customers. And I'm not going to allow that. And I might not know all of my customers by name, but by the fact that they're walking through Allegiant Stadium, or a la my front door of my business, or basically it's my house, and you want to willfully kill people, then I can say no. I can, listen, no one's stopping you, right? You can or can't get a vaccine. That's fine. It's the same thing. Listen, I've had respiratory issues all my life. If I want to have people over for a Christmas party, I can do that. But I also reserve the right to say, If you dare walk through my door without being vaccinated, and you know that I've had lifelong respiratory issues, and you don't care if I live or die, then I don't care about you coming over for Christmas. I can do that. Nobody's stopping you. So when he says, "Oh, I need this to get a jab," listen, don't get the jab. Sit in your bus by yourself, man. But you're not coming over to see me for Christmas, and you're not going to Allegiant Stadium to infect a bunch of and kill a bunch of people, because your freedom is the type of freedom that you think you should be walking over everybody else's freedom. With freedom comes responsibility. You don't have any. No wife, no girlfriend, no kids, no real job, and you live on a bus. So I don't want to hear it. Let's move on.
And that we should all be free to express ourselves as we choose. Teachers wrote in a message to parents, according to the outlet. Okay, we're keen to spread the message that clothes don't have a gender. Okay, so the women can wear pants, right?
Yes.
Can the boys wear whatever they want and the girls wear whatever they want?
Yes.
Because right below that they say, and we should all be able to, we should all be free to express ourselves as we choose.
True.
Now, boys, put on these skirts.
No.
They don't.
Nobody said that they had to, man.
Out of their mouths. If you want to be able to freely express yourself as you choose, then I'm going to walk in a pair of hot pink booty shorts with my junk hanging out and no skirt. Do you think they'd let me? No,
yes.
Of course they're not.
Yes, and that and that's the issue. Hold it. And there we go. There's a little bit of hidden homosexuality here, which is fine. I've got a lot of gay friends, and this is maybe his issue here, right? Like, he wants the courage to walk somewhere in a skirt. Maybe. I don't know. But if he wants to walk around in whatever he said, a pink whatever with his junk hanging out, go for it, man. I mean, I'm sure some places won't allow that. That's true. But some other places will. There's a lot of places that will do that, especially in Las Vegas. They would welcome that. So listen, don't let anybody else stop you, man, because nobody is. The only one who's stopping you from doing that is you. Because you know what? Because you and your friends would hate you for doing that, and they would shame you. But there's a lot of people that are trying to make it okay for people like you to wear your pink booty shorts. Be you, man. Go ahead. No problem. No problem at all. Go ahead and do it.
Good about what they're forcing these young men to do. They said the announcement...
Forcing these young men to do. Again, he just won't let it go. Nobody's forcing you. Nobody.
Follows protests in Spain last year after a teenage male student reportedly wore a skirt to a school in the country and was sent to a psychologist over the matter and expelled from school. On November 4th of last year, male students and teachers in the county wore skirts to school in support of the student, and the date is now known as Wear a Skirt to School Day.
True.
Okay, so if you want to say, hey, we shouldn't shame a young man for wearing a skirt to a school in Spain, okay, then why in Edinburgh, Scotland, are you forcing boys to wear skirts?
Because nobody's forcing boys to wear skirts, Mr. Better Bachelor Joker. Not once. Nobody's forcing it. They're doing it in solidarity to make somebody feel comfortable for being who they are. Listen, you know what? I'm going to get me and a bunch of friends. I'll get 100 people together in solidarity with you. I will wear pink booty shorts, okay? To make you feel comfortable so you can come out. Okay? Would that make you feel better? That's probably what you need.
Seems to me the two kind of aren't related much. They say today is Wear a Skirt to School Day in Spain, and this year Castleview Primary in Edinburgh are encouraging staff and pupils to take part of the break down gender stereotypes and promote equality. BBC Scotland tweeted
Notice
Thursday.
The condescension there.
P6 level students at Castleview, the equivalent of fifth graders in the U.S., reportedly came up with the idea after the Spain protests. Yes, because I'm sure the children were watching the news and saw the Spain protests and all the, fifth grade, so that's like 10 I guess, 10-year-olds
Yes,
or whatever it is.
10 years old.
They all got together and said, guys, we need to fight for gender equality for this person in Spain. Let's wear skirts. Yes, I'm sure the students came up with that. Or, more than likely, a teacher shared it with her class and said, hey guys, let's do this to support them. Does anybody, it's like, who would like to do X, Y? And all of a sudden, when the kids go, yeah, I guess, a great idea. And what else can we, and they're going to attribute it to the kids. These kids don't give an F.
You
They
see
do
this
not
fake
care
conversation he's having with
whatsoever.
himself?
But again, this is
I'm going to
not
prove
one of
him
these
wrong in
woke,
just one
weird,
second.
feminine teachers that are making these kids do this. Because 10-year-olds don't come up with this.
Yes, they
I
do.
didn't know about politics really until I was probably mid-20s when I started genuinely knowing anything about politics, and I literally didn't care until last year when they decided to start taking.
Okay, so he was in his 20s when he found out about politics. So everybody else has to be like that. Hey, listen, man, I did my first report on John Kennedy when I was about 8 years old. Okay, so I've been into it since then. All right, I even remember going into school and I taped two 50-cent pieces with John Kennedy's face on it, and somebody went in and stole my money. So yeah, I've been doing politics and being involved in it since I was a little kid. You weren't. Oh well, different experiences, okay? So again, just because you got into it late and you still don't know anything about politics, that's not my fault, and it's not like everybody's like that. He also said that kids wouldn't do this. So let me read this real quick, because this is up to date, by the way. This is 2021 that he's talking about. So he said there was no way kids would do this, right? So here's an article 4 years ago. Joker, better bachelor guy, 4 years ago. It says teenage boys wear skirts to school to protest against no shorts policy. So it was totally different. It was hot there, and they weren't allowed to wear shorts, so they decided to wear skirts because the girls were allowed to wear skirts. So the boys took it upon themselves to wear skirts. And it says, some had borrowed skirts from girlfriends, others from sisters. A few had even gone the extra mile and shaved their legs. When Iska Academy in Devon opened on Thursday morning, an estimated 30 boys arrived for lessons, heads held high in fetching tartan patterned skirts. The hottest June day since 1976 had led to a bare-legged revolution at the secondary school in Exeter. I could read more about this, but you get my point. Again, he's wrong. This isn't being stuffed down kids' throats. I mean, obviously, parents are going to talk about it, teachers are going to talk about it, but these kids did this on their own without any prompting. They weren't forced to do anything. And it takes a lot more courage to walk to school when you're a boy in a skirt than it does to sit there and shame people for not. And here's something else that Mr. Better Bachelor should know. It says, and this is 4 years ago, at least 120 schools adopt gender-neutral uniforms. This is a thing. This isn't something, this is around Europe. They tend to be much more progressive than we are. But anyway, everything he just said there, just utter stupidity. Let's continue.
Taking my rights away. They say responses to the tweet range from criticisms of Castleview for celebrating wear a skirt to school day to people supporting the day. The Castleview needs new head teachers as long as there's a teacher not... Then Castleview needs a new head teacher. Teachers are there to teach, not bang on about gender, one Twitter user posted, with no separation of commas and or punctuation. People are ticked off, and here's the dude.
Some people are, and some people really like this.
The school has had positive feedback from parents. However, pupils don't have to take part if they don't want to, the council added. Though the new wear skirt to school day is celebrated in Europe, the day does not appear to be celebrated in the schools in the United States. Nor should it be.
Your opinion?
Nor will it be.
You don't know that.
And again, this is just the push. Don't be an independent thinker. Don't be different than the tribes. Don't be different than, and when I say tribes, I mean like the social political tribes that are forming, or groups, however you want to phrase it. Don't be different. Don't step out. Don't be a critical thinker. Don't think for yourself. Consume, obey, read, watch, buy. do as we say and don't question and don't.
Do as we say. Again, man, it's voluntary. Nobody's telling you to do anything. And when you're saying don't be different, you're saying that everybody needs to be a white male heterosexual. They are daring to be different. You know, you think that you own this thing about critical thinking and being different, because you think you're the one who's being victimized. That's insane, man. Maybe maybe your life does suck. I mean, if I lived on a bus and I had no girls and I was as skinny as you are with no muscle, with no hair, I would have that too. But the thing is, go to the gym, work out, do what you need to do, pick it up, eat 6 meals a day, get a little more jacked, learn about politics. Here's something nice. He's always doing this thing about shoving social justice down and not giving rights and equality, or at least opportunities to other people. He doesn't think it exists. Let's go over this real quick. So if you were a woman in the 1970s, you want to know how different life was? I'll tell you. Well, let's go back even further. We've been a country for 250, 270 years? It's only been 100 years that women were allowed to vote. Does that surprise you? That's crazy, right? Let's continue. Married women were not allowed to have birth control until 1965. Married. Right? Because they needed permission from their husbands. Think about that. Marital exemptions for rape were permitted up until 1993. So if you were married, but you were separated and you hadn't seen your wife or husband in a year, you're living separate lives, but you were still legally married, a man could still go and force her to have sex and go, we're married. So you could, technically by law, up until 1993, you could rape your spouse and not pay any penalty on that, right? They assume that if you're legally married, the answer to sex is always yes, even if you are not having a relationship with that person anymore. Think about that, okay? But we don't want to push society to a better way, right? We want to keep it like the way he does. Here's another one. Up until 1978, a woman could be fired just for getting pregnant. She doesn't just get pregnant. It takes a little help, but fire the woman if you want, right? So up until 1974, a woman couldn't get a credit card in her own name. She had to be married and then get permission from her husband to get a credit card. So why are people fighting for rights? Why are people fighting for social justice? Because it's needed. It has been needed. Up until 1976, a woman could not attend a military academy. That's interesting. And up until 1973, a woman couldn't get an abortion. Again, now, guys like this are pushing it because that's reversing now. So again, not to get political, do what you want, think what you want. But guys like this are reversing that and taking those rights away. Let's continue. There's only just a little bit left.
Step out of line, and this is all programming to get people to just get used to saying yes to the state. And if you don't, they're going to hammer at you and hammer at you and hammer at you until you finally just break and you say, fine, just leave me. If you just leave me alone, I'll do what you want. The only difference is they never stop. They never leave you alone. They never stop. They're going to keep pushing you until they get you where they want you to be. And I mean, you can see how that's turning out.
Again, nobody's asking you to be gay. Nobody's asking you to wear a skirt. Nobody's asking you to do any of these things. You do you. Why you're so offended that people are becoming more open and aware and being more compassionate and empathetic in this world, I'll never know. And again, if you don't want to get your shot, that's fine. Then don't go to businesses that don't allow it and don't complain, right? For every action, there's a reaction and there's consequences for actions and behaviors. Be a man. You say you want to be a man, you're leading 355,000 other men to where? To nothingness, to whininess, to complaining, victimhood. That's all I see. Anyway, I hope this show was entertaining or valuable to you. My name is Joe Peroni, and this is the Rise Above Project. If you found value in it, please subscribe and tell a friend. And hopefully, because this guy has 350,000 more subscribers than I do, total proof that a lot of times, you know what the most popular food in America is? White bread. Does that make it a better food than Kobe beef? No. So I don't know. There's a lesson in there somewhere. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.